Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. So, today is Wednesday, the 3rd of February, 2021. And as you know, I like to try and do my videos on Wednesdays and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to make sure that this video is not too long, even though I say that and it always ends up running a bit over. But really, I'm going to try and keep this one short and sweet, because I'm dealing with a character that in a way is really quite, not even in a way, is quite a repulsive character. Now, as we know, Trumpocalypse flew off to Florida to you know, Frank Sinatra and My Way and all that kind of stuff, you know, like the proper drama queen that he is, you know, Trumpocalypse, you know, doing his bits and bobs. But of course he's not completely out of the news just yet. And you know, like everyone else, I've been just trying to move on from all the drama and just trying to relax after all of the cra that has been going on, which has just been ridiculous. Of course, the storming of the Capitol and everything that's happened since, which we know has just been news for ages. But there's this person that has just turned up that I just have to talk about. And this is, of course, Marjorie Taylor-Greene. Oh my goodness, what a car crash. And so I'm going to be talking about her today, and I'm also as well going to discuss what I believe to be some of her archetypes, because you know, a lot of you gave me feedback saying that you like the idea of the archetypes and looking on those special things. And I will do sort of like an archetype specials coming up, particularly where I look at the survival archetypes that affect everyone, because we all have a child archetype, we all have a victim, we all have a saboteur, and we all have a prostitute. Yeah, and she's my favorite card. And it's fascinating, and they all talk about the deep aspects of our life. And when we understand these survival archetypes, we also see how they often play out in politics. And there is, like, the GOP, the grand old party, really should just be renamed. It's a cult. It is a cult. Now, at the moment, Marjorie Taylor-Greene, who, and you know I love my name, so I've given her a name. So, because she's so ridiculous, she needs a ridiculous name. There's no other name for it. So from now on, I'm going to refer to her as Leaky Douchebag Blowhard. Yeah? Or maybe just Leaky Douchebag for short. Because this is a person who has said some really disgusting stuff. I mean, really rabid, weird, and disgusting stuff. Here is her chart, because of course I had to do a chart. And then of course here I've got her smaller printout where I've put some extra notes as well. Extra notes because there's things that occur when one is doing these kind of charts. And you probably be thinking, oh gosh, don't give any more wind or oxygen to this person. But I had to elevate her to doing a full chart because she is so out there and she's in such a place of power and influence. How could I not discuss, you know, Leaky Douchebag on my channel, especially because this is really kind of this dividing line that the GOP has. Now, you know, as I'm saying this, so let's see, it's 1842, so it's 6:42 here, and so coming up to 7 o'clock. And if I, and what's it, so what's his name, thingamajig, what's he called, McCarthy's supposed to be having a chat with her, or they've already had a chat, and apparently it was quite chummy. It said on the news that there will be some kind of outcome by 4 o'clock. So if we do, let's see, we do 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So really it's sort of like, it's kind of like 3:15 Is that right? No, it's like 3:45 or something like that on the East Coast, if I've got that right. 24-hour clock, you know, sometimes it can just be when you have to minus these hours, it can get a bit confusing, as my clients have found, as we deal with like the time differences. But anyway, that's the side chat. But anyway, there's supposed to be some kind of outcome. Yeah, is she going to keep her offices, you know, in terms of her committees or not? And the very fact that this is even a debate, the fact that the fact that the GOP are like, oh, not sure. Come on, let's just read off some of the egregious things leaky douchebag blowhard has said. All right. So first of all, she's a QAnon conspiracy theorist, and I'm going to show that in the charts. And she really is one of the proper hardcore, die-hard ones. And what I'm also going to do is, as you know, I always have my little sheet prepared. We're going to talk about her chart. And then I'm going to overlay the chart of Trumpocalypse. And honestly, you'll just be like, oh my goodness, you know, it won't be, it's not really a surprise, but when you actually see the astrology of it, you're like, wow. Anyway, so what's some of the things that she talked about? So 2 years ago, she spoke on video, and in a way, this is kind of prescient of her, and she spoke about storming the Capitol. Yeah, going out there, storming the Capitol, saying it's our building and blah, blah, blah. And on a certain level, I mean, on a certain academic level, she's correct. It is a public building. But it doesn't mean you can go and ransack it and smoke, you know, spread poop all over the walls and pee everywhere. No, of course not. It's not about that at all. And it's ridiculous that that place was even able to be stormed in the first place. And what's even more ridiculous is that you still got Republican congresspersons who don't want to go through the scanner, you know, because they want to carry guns into Congress. I mean, what is it, honestly, the rest of the world, we're just looking on and we're just like, wow, la la land, you know. Anyway, I mean, if it weren't for COVID and all the cra that's happening with that. So that's one of the ridiculous things that she said, which should have barred her from taking office even in the first place. Secondly, and this is, for me, this is the most despicable of all. She said that the major school shootings were staged and fake. Can you believe it? And then she harassed one of the survivors from the school shootings. I mean, it is like if a politician said that in the UK or any other place in the world with any stroke of decency, they would have just been so sacked immediately. How can she do that? This is a person who survived a massacre of underage people, you know, children, basically. And then she's harassing them and saying, oh, you want to take away this, that, and the other, and you're an actor. And I mean, that is gaslighting on a level that is just unimaginable. And the fact that there is this kind of quibbling and equivocation by the GOP of whether or not what she said is the right thing, it just shows you where they are. They're a cult. I don't think, you know, they just can't be called anything else. There's maybe one or two sane, rational ones. I mean, even Mitch McConman, Turtleface, is even putting up his hand and saying, I'm not sure about this person, not that he's named her by name. But we'll see what comes out in the wash. But for me, that is just unforgivable. What disrespect, not only to the survivors, but their families. It's just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Anyway, never mind. We know these things. I carry on. She's also liked comments on Facebook for Democratic leaders to be executed. I mean, again, major sackable offense. So, you know, Barack Obama, you know, Nancy Pelosi, and she's actually said, what did she say? She was talking about how it's treason, yeah? what's going on with the election, blah, 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 is treason punishable by death. Yeah? And she's saying Nancy Pelosi, and it's like, maybe you need to look in the mirror. I'll tell you a little bit of a story. I digress. Grimm's fairy tale. Anyway, long story short, an evil queen banished her daughter. Well, her stepdaughter, because of course it was all about stepdaughters, because or stepmothers, because unfortunately so many women passed away in childbirth back then. So, you know, the stepmother was a common thing. And of course it is today by marriage. But anyway, that's not the point. Anyway, long story short, she banished her stepdaughter from the kingdom, and via a series of events, she is able to come back as princess and regain, you know, entry into the royal household. And the queen knew this, you know, after trying to get her killed. And so what they asked her, once they were sure of her guilt, but she didn't know, they said, what is the punishment? What should the punishment be for a person who has done X, Y, Z? And she said, I think that person should be put into a barrel filled with nails, you know, the nails being on the inside pointing in, and then roll down the hill. And they were like, that's very good, because that's your punishment. Yeah, and that's what happened. She was put into the barrel full of nails, nailed in, with all the nails poking in, and rolled down the hill. Now, I'm not saying that should happen to douchebag, leaky douchebag, blowhard. But what she's calling for to happen to others, she should actually pause for a moment and think, if the same were to happen to her. She's so detached from reality. Anyway, and the last thing, what I heard about, was that apparently she's made these anti-Semitic statements about Jewish space lasers causing the fires in California. Now that is a sackable offense on its own, and it's wrong in so many ways I can't even begin to describe. Now, correct me if there's anything wrong with that statement, because of course I'm here in the UK, you know, looking at America, because when I've been watching the reports, sometimes they say there's the anti-Semitic part in there, and then there's sometimes they don't mention that part, so I can't be 100% sure, but it is in that ballpark. She has basically said lasers in space caused the California fires, as opposed to global warming. Yeah, this is madness. What party other than a cult wants to be associated with a person like that, who's making statements like that? A person who's made statements like that has been elected. It's beyond belief. In the UK, we have a joke political party which is called the Monster Raving Looney Party. Yeah. You see where I get some inspiration for these funny names, but it's true. Monster Raving Looney Party, and they're sort of like a protest party, and they go up there and they wear silly costumes and they turn up, but you know, somehow they still manage to get, you know, 300 or 400 votes or something like that, where people are just like, you know, I just want to rebel. Yeah, but it's not elevated to the level of serious politics. What she said is just crackers, as if no one would notice laser beams coming out of the sky and burning up the forest. You know, we see how many videos and stuff like that are on YouTube, you know, of phenomena. Laser beams are so easy to see. It's crazy. And none of them have been, you know, when the scientists were, you know, basically distributing our mobile phone sensors and all that kind of stuff, of course, you know, they've not been built with laser beams. And even if they would, why not Russia just put one of those telescopes or whatever up in the air, not telescopes, one of those satellites up in the air, and then just laser beam the capital from there? Could have just done that job just as easily. It's crazy. Right, but why? So let me explain. So when we look here, now remember, you're probably quite familiar with Trump's chart now, and we know about Scorpio. Yeah, unfortunately, the shadow of Scorpio is what? Conspiracy theories. Yeah, we know that. So what's going on? So the ascendant. Now, what I had to do, just like with Madame Ivanka, I chose the time of midday, and surprise, surprise, again, it works. Now, why midday? Because it puts the sun in a high place, and in order, no matter how crazy you are, in order to take sort of like public office or have some kind of platform of where you're doing some kind of public dharma, it helps a lot if the sun is in a high house. Yeah. So what will we be looking for is for the sun to be in either the 9th, the 10th, or the 11th. Boom! You know, we put it there. There it is, the sun in the 11th house when I chose midday. Now, oh, actually, I forgot to put her birthday on there. Okay, so yes, when I looked up her birthday, she was born on the 27th of May, 1974, in a place called Milledgeville. Unusual kind of name. I may have mispronounced that. But so I put the time, because I had the location, put the time at 12 o'clock, and this is what we came up with. So what does the sun in the 11th house mean? Now, what is the sun? The sun is the divine spark. The sun is the part of us from God where we've incarnated as a being and a soul, and where we're trying to build our kingdom this lifetime. Now, my clients who've booked with me know this, because I always go through this thing. So when we look, where is the kingdom being built? It's built in the 11th house, in the house of rubbing shoulders. Yeah, I call this the Amazon online house. This is where our connections can bring us great returns. Yeah, it's also known as the house of great gains. It's also known as the money of the father. The house of the father is actually the 9th house, but the father's money, daddy's money, is in the 11th. And she's got the sun there, and the sun also represents the father. It represents the king, the divine masculine. So here, this would imply that Papa had quite a bit of cash. And surprise, surprise, yes, he actually did, because he had a very successful construction company, which he sold to Mary, which she's sold to Leaky Douchebag's husband. This is where she gets the green part of her name. So you can see there's been great gains from the father, yeah? And this is going to be very interesting when I overlay Trump's chart, because the ones who know Trump's chart already can already see there's some big connections going on. So if I take that time, her ascendant is Cancer. But, she could be a Leo. No, actually, let me see here. Well, no, actually, yeah, she could be a Leo, because the ascendant moves every 2 hours. But for argument purposes, let's say she's a Cancerian, and has the ascendant of Aslacia. And Aslacia is a part of Cancer that's all about the hidden. It's about the occult. My ascendant is actually in Aslacia, and it deals with that, the hidden side of life, the occult. It deals with Kundalini, transcendence. And when you work with it in the higher energies, it can be absolutely amazing. But in the lower energies, it has a lot to do with poison. Yes, poison. So the lower expression of Aslacia, because remember, all the nakshatras, all the planets have their high, middle, and low expressions. So we know, obviously, with Leaky Douchebag, that she's in the lower expression. So it has to do with poison. So it's almost like she's dripping poison. Yeah? Then we see we've got the moon in the 2nd house. Now, the moon is the queen of the chart. The moon is the mind, our predominant thoughts, our instinctive habits, how we adapt to things and stuff like that. And she's got it in the nakshatra of Marga. Now, do you remember what I mentioned before about Donald Trump and Marga? When you drop the H away from the spelling of Marga as it's spelt in Sanskrit, or the English interpretation of Sanskrit, it becomes M-A-G-A. MAGA. Donald Trump's mantra. Remember I said how we toxified, used the lower expression of MAGA, which is to do with lineage and ancestry and pride in one's ancestors, yeah, and one's place in the land, because the symbol for it is the throne, yeah. Trump has twisted that with his MAGA, Make America Great Again, and look, she's got her moon in that nakshatra. Ah, Surprise, surprise. And it also means that her mother is very influential, because after all, the Queen is in the sign of her husband, the King, Leo. And also as well, it can also, because it's in the second house, it deals with values, and it also deals with money. So we know that this was a big thing. Lineage and all this kind of stuff was talked about a lot at home. And she may have got that in particular from her mother. But also as well, that helped with the finances. And Marga also deals with inheritance from the ancestors, the Petries. But it can also mean that one's parents, one's grandparents gave you a lot of money. Now, this doesn't always happen, but guess who's also got the same? Trumpety Trump Trump. Yeah, he's got the same. So this is where she's got something in common with, Duck L'Orange. Now, if we look here, third house of communication, she's got Pluto there. Pluto, yeah? In the nakshatra of Hasta. Remember I was telling you about Hasta? The shadow of Hasta is what? Manipulation. So I'll put here, manipulative speech to gain power. Pluto is about power. And I'm going to skip the fourth house because it's not that important. I mean, her fourth house is real estate, homeland, etc. and stuff. So obviously with her father's construction company building things, that's where that element is. And there's that element of innovation there. But if we go to the fifth house, now the fifth house is the house of advising others. It's the house of children. It's the house of creativity. It is the house where we speculate, where we take chances. Yeah, it's a very powerful house. Any planets in there are going to have this, a bit of vavavoom to them. And guess what? This is the clincher. Her Rahu, remember, which is the point of fate and destiny, is at 25 degrees, 58 minutes of Jyeshta. Remember how we were talking about Trumpy Trump, how his moon is debilitated in Jyeshta? Her Rahu, the north node of the moon, gobble gobble, point of destiny, is right on top of Trump's moon with K2. Yeah? And I'm going to flip down the chart and you'll see. And also what's there? We see Neptune again. Remember how Neptune... Now, what's interesting is I don't have Ivanka's chart here, but she's got Neptune in the same place. So there's this echo. There's a kind of a resonance there. And what that means is when you've got something like the North Node conjunct the moon, someone's moon, it's kind of like, it's like their minds are twinned. It's like they think the same thing. It's like with Ivanka Trump, with her moon, I think on top of her father's moon, you know, or some other one, I can't remember it now, but it means there is a lot in common in terms of there's a strong attraction and attachment in regards to the thoughts, yeah, because the moon is the mind. Rahu is fate and destiny, and here we are, we've got, you know, Neptune there as well. Actually, I forgot to write in the degree on that. 14 degrees, 48 minutes. 14 degrees, 48 minutes. And that puts it into the nakshatra called Anuradha, which is about devotion, yeah? And it's about literally being willing to die for one's beliefs as well. It's a very intense, very devotional part of Scorpio, which Joe Biden actually has as well in his ascendant. He's devoted. You remember when he said, "My soul is in it"? So with this crazy box of frogs, she's in the depths of delusion. And she's in there with her heart and soul. You know, she sees it as part of her destiny to talk about this stuff. And in a kind of funny way, it is. But maybe it's just to wake the rest of us up. Yeah? So we look here. We've got this powerful combination here in Jyeshta. And it shows that she's got these, because Rahu is also smoke. Rahu deals a lot with illusion as well. This is why we must be careful when we go in the direction of our North Node to make sure that we're not deluding ourselves. It's often better to try and get there a little bit later, because Rahu is very thirsty for power and material success and gains, which can be wonderful. They can be wonderful, but it must be tempered with goodness. It must be tempered with enlightenment. Not if you're a delusional, leaky douchebag, blowhard, yeah? This is really kind of like sums her up. And of course, it's so remarkable because one of the committees that she's been put on has been for what? Education, which deals with what? Children. The fifth house is children. So you've got this loony bin that they are this delusional loony bin that they're putting here to influence children. And this is the same woman that said like Sandy Hook and all those atrocities and tragedies that happened with these multiple shootings of children didn't happen. Look, planet of illusion, Neptune, retrograde, going backwards, with Rahu, the bombastic, and the smoke. So she doesn't believe it. She doesn't believe it. And she's manifesting the lowest energies possible. If we were to flip this and put this the other way, she'll be trying to make dreams come true, beautiful dreams come true. And she'll be wanting to help children, yeah? Have them have this almost exalted elevation, yeah? And deep knowledge. But of course, that's not what she's about. Anyway, as I move on here, Jupiter, let's look at her Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the planet of wisdom, knowledge, deep knowledge, the guru, yeah? And we see where it goes, but what does it rule? Which houses does it rule in her chart? Because remember, she's a Cancer ascendant. So for all Cancer ascendants, Jupiter rules the 6th house of obstacles and enemies, and the 9th house of faith, belief, religion, politics, lawmaking, publishing, yeah? Now, and then, so it means that energy of those two houses has been taken into her 8th house, which is the house of, as you know, I call the house of sex, death, and rock and roll, but it's also the house of other people's money. So I've put here dark money, question mark. This woman knows how to raise funds. And this is part of the reason why they want to keep her. And I think they've just mentioned, actually, like she's something that she was doing for some little committee or whatever. She raised 1.4 million. Yeah. So if they keep her on, they're thinking about the money, but it's the dark money. Yeah, because the dark side of Aquarius, although it's the sign of humanity, can deal with the elites. You know, when they're saying, oh, these elites, they're so detached from life and blah, blah, blah. That can be the shadow of Aquarius. But if we look here, Aquarius is the 11th sign. Yeah. So she's got Jupiter in a money house. Jupiter also represents money, but millionaires. Venus is billionaires. Venus and Pluto is billionaires, but Jupiter is millionaires. Not that that's a shabby thing at all. But also as well, if we look at the 11th house, is the house of great gains. So again, although it's the 8th house, it's the 11th sign. So great gains from sponsors. Yeah, that's people do still giving her money. And really, you have to be on the dark side to give money to leaky douchebag, really, wouldn't you? I mean, it just makes sense. And if we look here in Pisces, she's got Chiron, which is the wounded healer. So I put here, possibly believes using politics will heal wounds, yeah? But she's thinking about the wounds of the gun lobby, really, isn't she? She's saying, I carry a gun, it's posing with, you know, whatever guns that she is on her Instagram or whatnot. And I've also put here as well, although this is a bit more of a personal note, it suggests that she may have received a wound from the father in some way, or has been wounded by certain beliefs. You know, because it is the house of beliefs. 10th house, she's got Venus in there. Now, normally that would create maybe a fashion stylist, someone working in theatre, because Venus is the arts. Any creative pursuits, painter or art director or anything like that. But remember, Venus is women and Venus is presentation. And it's in the 10th house, which is a public house. But it's in Aries, which is kind of like an enemy sign for Venus. Because Venus is peace and Mars is war, as we know. War, conflict, sport, blah, blah, blah. But you know what I found fascinating when I did a little dig around in the Wikipedia? What was really interesting is that there was she stepped down as CFO, I think it was, of this company that her husband bought off her father. And then, you know, I think it may have been around 2002. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But part of her campaign, I think, for raising her profile, she took up fitness. What was the fitness? It was, oh crumbs, what was it called? Oh, I've forgotten the exact fitness thing, but it was oh, which note did I wrote it on? Oh crumbs. It would it's escaped me, but it's this fitness thing. It's a very popular fitness thing. And then she started posting pictures on social media, and then surprise, surprise. So isn't this interesting? Venus is to do with image. The 10th house is career, but it also means public dharma, things that we do on behalf of others. So it also represents high office and government. So isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that she got into government by presenting a certain image? However, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and this Venus is in a section of the sky called Ashwini, which is all to do with speed. But it also can deal with immaturity and impulsiveness in public office when it's in the 10th house, because it's a very young, rushing around, bombastic energy. It's very pioneering, but Aries doesn't think too much about the consequences of things. They just dive in. Yeah, it's part of the nature of Aries, but particularly Ashwini, because it symbolizes by the two horses running. Yeah, but sometimes the two horses are running in different directions, and I think that's what's happened in Nikki Douchebag's mind. Yeah, the horses are just running around, and she's like, "Woo, yeehaw," you know, but she's crackers. Anyway, so the 11th house I've already mentioned, and there's Ketu there. So what this can suggest is it's a small circle of friends, but powerful. Yeah, powerful friends. No surprises there. But of course, her friend circle is probably reducing because Ketu reduces things. So there's not many people that with her, but those that are with her are powerful. Yeah, like Trumpocalypse. Less powerful now, but you get what I mean. Yeah. And then finally, let's look here at the 12th house. And she's got 1, 2, 3 planets in her 12th house. Ooh, yeah, that can be tricky energy. That can be tricky energy. And also as well, because there's Saturn there with Mars, yeah? Saturn is, you know, our karmas, our difficulties, yeah? And whenever I see this in a client's chart, I know that there are some challenges. It can manifest very well as spirituality and long distance travel, but you've got Mars there. That's 2 malefics. Mars is what? Aggression, anger, violence. It's also passion and sport and stuff like that. She probably likes going on sporting holidays, yeah? You know, if she travels out of America, but she would have traveled a lot within America and would have seen a few places, but that is really quite a dark combo. Saturn with Mars, and so it could mean abusive language as well. She could have been verbally abused, but she's certainly verbally abusive, isn't she? We know that much. So so whenever you see Mercury in the company of malefics, it makes that Mercury malefic. He takes on the energy of who he's with. So no surprise, malefic language. Although it's in Migashira, so she's always searching. It's like she's searching for the promised land, yeah? Which is really built in hell in her case. But anyway, what we should also look at as well, let's look at the Navamsha, so the second half of life. She's in her 40s now, and we see here her ascendant changes from Cancer, and it goes to Aquarius, but Rahu goes into the first house, which means in the second half of life for her, it's all about her. It's all about her and her opinions. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, because some people, they really do need to develop themselves, but for her it's yeah, so it's all about her. If we look here, if we look at her third house, which is communication and speech, she's got a pile up there. She's got Sun, Venus, Jupiter, Moon, and Pluto in her third house of communication. In the sign of Aries, yeah? So what does she do? She shoots her mouth off. She shoots her mouth off. And she's like, I don't care. I'm not going to apologize. Why should I? Yeah? Because look, she's got Pluto in there. She's like, I don't give a damn. Yeah, and she's got the sun, and it's all heated up and a bit over the top. And she's got Jupiter there as well. And all of those are pretty much friends of Aries, except Venus. So she feels very empowered. She feels very like, yeah, what I say is the it, you know. And then look, we've got Mars here. So her Mars is Vargotama. You see, it's in Gemini, and it's in Gemini in both charts. So that's called Vargotama. It makes that planet very strong. But I'll tell you something funny. And those are my clients where I've read this interpretation for them. But this is what I found. Particularly if I'm looking at a woman's chart, and I look at Mars. Mars also represents not only real estate, but siblings, but brothers in particular. Whenever with my clients, except one who have this position, when Mars is in Gemini, which is an enemy sign for Mars, their brothers tend to be gun-loving Republicans with short tempers. Because Gemini is an air sign. Gemini is communication of all kinds. Mars is what? Heat, fire. What happens when you put a lot of air onto fire? Blows up, yeah? So this is a classic combination for someone who is short-tempered and fiery and a bit loose with their speech, yeah? Surprise, surprise. So there we are. There's Mars in Gemini. And then when we look here, again, look. 10th house, this is the career this time, reflected in the Navamsha chart. What do we have? Neptune, planet of deception, in Scorpio with Mercury. There. That, you don't get more QAnon than that. Neptune with Mercury in Scorpio. That is conspiracy theory wonderland, yeah? Because what Neptune does, Neptune dissolves the boundaries between the real world and the imagined world and the spiritual world. So in the highest level, it can be amazing, can give great talent for music and stuff like that. And what is Mercury? We know Mercury is communication. And Mercury is about practical things, yeah? Tangible facts. So here, Mercury doesn't do the best in water signs. He does well in the 8th house, which is, of course, relative to Scorpio, but water signs are not good for Mercury. Whenever you see Mercury in a water sign, you know that Mercury's struggling a little bit because Mercury's the microprocessor, you know, the chip, like in your computer. You hear the fan going to keep it cool. So when Mercury is in fire signs, it still works, but gets overheated. Yeah, it can make the language a bit bombastic or over-embellished, or can be very charming, but they may not necessarily, you have to take what they say with a pinch of salt. But when it's in a water sign, what happens? Imagine if I was to drop my laptop now, or my camera, or any electrical thing into water. Short circuits. Yeah, so she's got a kind of a short-circuited Mercury. Now, if you've got this combination, of course, it depends on the charts. But in the context of leaky douchebag blowhard, we can see here the mechanism of her mind is impeded and foggy and overtaken by the powers of Neptune, because Neptune is a watery planet. It's the god of the sea, and it's in a water sign, Scorpio. So that Neptune is dominant. Yeah, that Mercury doesn't stand a chance. If it was there on its own, you know, Mercury might be able to get into a boat from time to time and find a bit of dry land, but not with Neptune like that. It's foggy, it's misty, it's in the depths. So, and it's also in the nakshatra of Anuradha as well. So that means she's completely devoted to her fantasies. Beyond help. They've just got to basically kind of get rid of her. Anyway, I digress. So I've covered all that part. Now let's cover the bits where she has these chart connections with Trump. Now, listen to this. If you've got one of the nodes of the moon so much as conjunct one planet, that means past life. And past life doesn't always mean good. It means you have got some karma to resolve, yeah? One. The other one, as well, is if Saturn is conjunct one of the planets. That Saturn is the planet of karma, yeah? And again, only one has to be present. So, let me get my thingamajiggy up. Use a bigger blob of blue tack this time. So, here we are. Leaky douchebag's chart. Donald Trump's chart. Now, you guys have seen this a lot, but look at these comparisons. The most obvious one, let's look at the moon. Trump's moon, 28 degrees and 5 minutes. her Rahu 20, so his is 2805, hers is 2558. It means it's 26 degrees. It's within 3 degrees of Trump's moon. And we know how cra his moon is. There she is with her Rahu. And then his Ketu is at 27 degrees, and her Neptune here is at 14 degrees. So it's not as close an orb, but the point is they're still in the same house. But the Rahu is right on top of the moon. So they feel blended in their thinking. And what do they talk about? Conspiracy theories, of course. That's why they got that big love up, you know, because they've got a lot in common. They believe the same la. Anyway, this classic combination, there we are. Now remember, in Trump's chart, he's got Neptune with Jupiter with Chiron. So remember I was talking about that deceptive speech, yeah? The ability to tell huge lies. Look where her Pluto falls. There it is, peeping out. So her Pluto is also in Hasta. And the negative side of Hasta is manipulation. The positive side is design and creativity and great hand skills, yeah? And even Reiki and massage and stuff like that. So if we look here, her Hasta is at 10 degrees 38 minutes in Pada 1. And we see here, oh, surprise, surprise, her Pluto is right on top of Trump's Neptune. It's within 2 degrees, so 10 degrees 38. Trump's Neptune is 12 degrees 44, within 3 degrees. Yeah, they really are into the whole conspiracy theory thing. They really are. They've gone to town. When they talk, it is just like that. But there is more. So as we know, Trump has got what? Mars in the first house, in Marga, yeah, which gives him this great bombast and this energy and this power. This is how he's been able to evade capture for so long, yeah. So there is the Mars, look, moon right there. Even though it's just under 1 degree, now we can't remember as well, I'm not 100% sure of her birth time, but I know it's close. It's probably exact. So there we are. Here's Mars, her moon, in the same place, in the same nakshatra. Even in the same, they might even be in the same pada, or maybe Trump's is just slightly out. And then remember as well, Trump's 12th house with all that dodgy stuff going on. Well, his 12th house falls into her first house. This is classic. Whenever anyone's chart, and particularly like a stellium or anything like that, and when you overlay the chart, if those planets go into that person's first house, it is a very strong connection. It's a strong rapport. When she met Trump, she would have just felt that she knew him already. So there we are. We've got Saturn, which is government, Venus, which is women, Pluto, which of course deals with the hidden side of life and all that kind of stuff, all falling into her first house. And, you know, there you are. Enough said, really. And what we also see with this other kind of connection here, we see Trump's Mercury is at 12 degrees 45 minutes. And her Saturn is at 10 degrees 31 minutes. So again, that's a very strong connection. Very strong connection. It's about 5 degrees, just over, but you know. But it's on the Saturn, and Saturn is the planet of karma. So there's at least 2 karma points, but it's not even just that. The planets lay over each other. So it suggests some kind of past life or some kind of something crazy like that. But they're like this, yeah? She's got even more connections on her chart than I think even Ivanka has. And she's his daughter. It's crazy. Anyway, just to wrap up, I want to talk about 3 archetypes. I probably should have introduced them earlier. But anyway, so in regards to her energy, I think she's working the shadow of these archetypes. So I think she's in the shadow of the warrior. Yeah? Which kind of makes sense. Think as well, all of those planets, we go back here, just pin that back up. Ooh, oh, no. We pin this back up. Think again, look, she's got Venus there, planet of peace in the house of war. And then when we look at the Navamsha, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in Aries. The sun, which is exalted there, and then you've got Pluto, which is intense. So if I read for you the shadow side of the warrior, so there we are, Caroline Mace cards, as you know, and I use these in all my consultations. So shadow attributes, I'm not even going to read the light. No, I should, just so you know what the positive is. I'll read the light first. Strength, skill, discipline, toughness of will, heroism, stoicism, and self-sacrifice in conquering the ego. Now, we know her ego is huge. That will never be conquered. But this also can reflect how she's seen by the base. Yeah, she's a heroine. Shadow attributes. Trading ethical principles for victory at any cost. Oh, don't we know that one? Indifference to the suffering inflicted on others. That is bang on. Remember she was heckling the survivor of Sandy Hook? Boom, do I need to say more? Next archetype. I think she's also working in the shadow of the trickster. There we are. The trickster. So, light attribute, transcending convention, stuffiness, and predictable behavior. Well, she's certainly doing that. Whether or not you can call that a positive, I don't know, but she's certainly doing that. Shadow attribute, manipulating others through duplicity. As we know, all the QAnon theories and all the BS that's been coming out of Leaky Douchebag, Blowhard, and all of the other ones that join her crazy club. And third one, and this is quite a rare one to come up, one of my clients picked this. I think she's also working with the energy of the destroyer. Yeah, the destroyer. So if we look at the light attributes, releasing what is potentially destructive, preparing for a new life. So she's clearly not doing that, or she thinks she's destroying something, doesn't she? She thinks she's destroying what she perceives as the false result of the election in her head. And again, maybe her base are seeing her and Trumpocalypse and that like as destroying something, and really they are. But the shadow attributes, intoxication with destructive power, destroying others' dreams or potential. Boom. Game, set, and match. And really, that's what we see as the agenda. What will happen? What will happen? Will the GOP somehow swim to some kind of land, dry land of something vaguely rational in the future? Who knows? Mitch McConnell is not happy with her, but I have a feeling he might be kind of a bit outnumbered. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope the next I see on American news that she's been thrown out from office. However, I'm not sure, but we'll have to see. Nothing is set in stone. There's free will. It's also time as well for the Democrats to really, they need to bring this home. They need to say, look, guys, these people, they're crazy. They're cra-cra. Don't take them seriously. It's a cult. They just need to say that over and over and over and just expose the wickedness. You know, the fact that they're dragging their heels over the relief package and whatever. What is the point of the GOP except just to obstruct things and play the victim and be passive aggressive, and not even passive aggressive, lashing out? And they're not a party. At the moment, they are just not a party. And even Mitch McConnell, Turtleface, can see that. But I don't know, it's tricky. You still got people that are willing to kind of defend. So let's see if there's any common sense that happens here, because this is even a matter of their own survival. Not that I care, but if they carry on down this route, they are likely to have some kind of collapse, some kind of spectacular collapse. They're already collapsing, but, you know, there might have to be, you know, some bright spark might come up with a new party. Yeah, let's not forget Madame Ivanka, you know, changing corsets in the background. You know, she's got her moves. And I know people are like, don't talk about her. It's there, yeah? So with all of this falling down, as we know, Trump is about to face the, what's it called? Oh my God, the impeachment. There we go. He's about to face the impeachment. We'll see. I mean, it looks like they're going to bail him out. I mean, watch a bunch of spineless people. But again, I hope I'm wrong about that. I'll gladly be wrong on that one. Let's, let's see. I really hope that they do throw the book at him. But, you know, Trump is slippery. Yeah, like I said, he's got reptile intelligence. I know he's a douchebag, but he's not a complete fool. Yeah, You can't survive that long and be a complete dunce. But he's just crazy, and he's just a crazy narcissist, who belongs in jail. But the demise of the Republican Party, Trump's not going to cry about that. He'll just set up something else, or he'll get one of his daughters to do it. Because remember what I said in the constitutional, in the inauguration chart. Remember, Rahu, North Node, Destiny, is conjunct the star Bellatrix, the female warrior. Yeah, and oh my God, actually, I didn't even notice. Her south node is conjunct Rahu in the inauguration chart. And the star Bellatrix is 25 degrees, 57 minutes. And her Ketu is 25 degrees, 58 minutes. It's exact. The female warrior. Oh my goodness. I didn't even twig until now. No wonder I picked this card. My goodness, I didn't even realize. So what does this mean? It means women are having their chance to have influence and power. Yeah. Now we know that this has been happening for a long time, but this time it's supported strongly by the sky. Now what you've got to remember is the energies, they don't discriminate. So this is why I say this is the tide that raises all boats. So it's great for the Kamala Harrises, Kamala Kick-Ass Harris, and that beautiful, wonderful poet who spoke. Oh God, her name's just escaped me. I was just so shocked by what I've just discovered with Leaky Douchebag. But it's that time to rise up, but it raises all boats, including maybe some of the ladies that don't have the best intentions. So it's also good for Trump's daughters, and it's also been obviously good for Leaky Douchebag, because of course I'm talking about her today because she's had some influence. But literally that for me, I'm just astonished. I didn't even notice that until I overlaid it. So this is a time where politics is going to change. It's all about change. We're going to see more female leaders in the world, which is a good thing. But as we have seen, there's no difference really. A politician is a politician, be they male or female. They're either crazy and just self-interested, or they want to do good in the world. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Marjorie Taylor-Greene, just to use her official name, just to kind of like wrap up. And we shall see. One thing I will say though, what I forgot to say, the stellium of planets at the moment, which are in sidereal Capricorn, are happening in her 12th house. Yeah, which is also known as the house of loss. So she may not come out of this completely unscathed. She may lose something. If anything, what she has definitely lost is probably reputation, but it could be more. So let's see what happens. I'm just going to wrap up there. I'm sure I've gone over half an hour, but I hope it's less than an hour. So thanks for listening, and feel free, of course, to comment below. I do try to read all the comments if I can, but of course there's a lot of comments, and of course I'm busy with consultations. I'm going to do some more emails after this, but there's almost like a bit of like a 2-week lag, because by the time I get the chance to actually sit down, because of course I've got to do videos and other bits and bobs, and people's charts and the admin and emailing them their stuff, it does mean that it does take me a bit longer to get back on email. So I'm going to do some more tonight and do that. But I hope that was an interesting video for you. We did a kind of a deep dive there. And of course, like I said, I'll be taking March off. For those of you that do have some March bookings with me, of course, you'll still have those. But broadly, I'm taking the month off so I can rest and do some other artistic things, as I've mentioned before. And I will do some videos on the survival archetypes, and I'll do like a kind of like a deep dive, because here I just flash these ones just to kind of make that point, because they are fascinating, and it's been so interesting for me how the archetypes manifest for my clients and which houses they fall in. Right. That's enough there from me for now. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that explains a lot of things. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll be coming up with my next video soon, probably post next week, this time next week, hopefully. So thank you. Namaste, everyone. Again, manifest the highest light. Biden is doing his stuff. There are good people out there. Keep envisioning that positive future. Forgive your mothers. Again, you know, like I said, even if she left you on the local bus just wrapped in a swaddle, you know, with a bottle of milk, still it's so important, because we need that energy of the moon. The moon needs strengthening in the USA chart, so we can get out of the funk of all of the cra that's been happening. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much, and see you soon. Cheers.